So according to you, one is about a knowledge side of it, but what is a role, these DPOs, what a good DPO setup would really look like according to you under this law?
So first, let me just try and talk about why the DPO is required, because I think that question is important to understand budget allocation. So most of the times, the tendency is just give that role to someone who's already
Existing.
doing something in the organization.
Right.
So there is compliance. So there is, you say, oh, I do have a DPO. The DPO has no clue why he is being called a DPO. It is just for him, some extra designation, maybe without a salary hike. So, nobody's interested in it in a way. So the importance of having a separate position which caters to only a privacy function becomes crucial in organizations who heavily deal with personal information. Let me start. I'm not saying everybody should have. The law also doesn't say that. The law definitely says that significant data fiduciaries, the threshold may be defined under in the rules as to who would be SDFs, and then it is mandatory for them to have. But it is definitely good to have, even if you don't come under a significant data fiduciary eventually. But if you're a regulated entity, if you do have large scale data processing activities, it is good to have one person who takes ownership of this function. One. Second is, there he or she definitely should not have a conflicting role. The
Absolutely.
moment you say he's a data protection officer, his primary and the only concern should be protection of personal data, compliance with the DPDP Act, and then having a proper communication line between the company and the data protection board. Not only that, but that data protection officer will have to be, he should always be riding the curve in terms of latest developments, what is happening in data privacy around the globe, how does it impact your industry. So this becomes a very crucial role. So first and foremost, I don't think it should be looked at very casually. Even people who are doing certifications, it is a full-fledged responsibility. So eventually you should be able to transition into a full-fledged role of privacy and not do, I'll do legal also, I'll do compliance also, I'll do contract management also, and then I'll do an additional responsibility of a DPO. That it won't work that way. So I think, that's my opinion on how the function should be. Now, having said that, you want me to elaborate, or you want
No,
to
no,
ask?
no. Please, I think it's good to hear more.
So the moment we say that we need somebody like a data protection officer with a very clear mandate, because that is also where I think organizations trip, because a job role is not defined properly.
Mm.
It is sometimes mere nomenclature, and nobody knows, that there's no clarity as to. So a very clear definition of a responsibility becomes very important when a DPO is appointed.
Right.
Also, I'm sure he and she would require a certain team, a dedicated team, and not people borrowed from IT and legal, which
Okay.
also is a case most of the times. But we would need, and any organization big or small would need, a certain dedicated team reporting to the DPO. The DPO either reporting to the board or CROs. There is a lot of gray area in terms of the reporting, but it will all depend on the maturity that the organization has in terms of the role of the DPO. And just let me just do one more addition here. It is very important in the organizations to have cross-functional committee uh, that has a regular discussion with the DPO. For example, Data protection is not one department's job. We all agree. It is
Right.
not the IT's job. It is not the legal's job. It is not only the DPO's job. So all departments deal with personal information in some manner or the other. Now, to bring in transparency, accountability, trust, also have an audit trail, and to show readiness, all these teams have to talk to each other, which means you will need one person from every team to become part of a cross-functional committee. So the way a DPO is important, a cross-functional committee is equally important,
Okay.
because they are going to bring in information from their own function, say let's say HR, uh, which will feed into a data protection function. So this is something that organizations really need to look at it from very seriously, to have a high level committee which eventually will talk to each other and work towards the common goal of privacy.